secrets you didn't know about Pokeballs. Did you know that the inside of a Pokeball looks like this? Well, that's just one of 28 Pokeball secrets you didn't know. And by the end of this video, you will be mind blown by 2 secrets even Ash Ketchum doesn't know about. Firstly, let's talk about the secret behind the Pokeball's original design. Did you know that Pokeballs were supposed to look like this? You see, way back in 1990, when Satoshi Tajiri and Ken Sugimori first pitched the idea to Nintendo, they pitched it as a game where players could capture various creatures and train them to battle against one another. At the time, they called it Capsule Monsters, and it featured the capsules and the monsters they would contain. Those capsules looked like this. But later on, the capsules would later become known as Pokeballs, and the capsule monsters as Pokemon. And just as the game's name was changed, the design of the Pokeball was changed too. What even inspired Sugimori to sketch this design in the first place were capsules for gashapon machines, which contain small handheld toys. So when his design was changed, the button was relocated from the top of one half to the center of the opening. Did you know that for the Pokeball to work effectively, the Pokemon shrinks in size to fit into it? In Pokemon Legends Arceus, Professor Laventon explains that Pokemon have the ability to reduce their size to minuscule, and Pokeballs take advantage of this to contain them. There's more! Pokeballs contain light energy that is used to store and contain the shrink Pokemon while they are inside the Pokeball. How this works is that the light energy is refracted against a series of glass to preserve the energy state of the Pokemon. And even though the inside of a Pokeball looks like this, it actually feels like this! That's right! The producer of Pokemon Sun and Moon, Junichi Masuda, when asked what he believes what happens to Pokemon that are called back into the Pokeball, said, "I think it's safe to say that it's very comfortable inside of a Pokeball. It's a very comfortable environment, maybe the equivalent of a high-end suite room in a fancy hotel." Pay attention! This is just one of the 2 secrets that Ash had no idea about. Did you know that there's a Pokeball that should belong to Superman? That's right! I'm talking about the Great Ball! In Japanese, it's called the Super Ball, and it even has the S symbol of hope, like Superman does on its original design. And if you pay closer attention, you can see the red stripes on the Super Pokeball matches the red straps for Superman's cape, which kinda reminds me of the most expensive Pokeball that has been kept a secret from you all this while. There's nothing really special about this diamond-encrusted Pokeball, except for the fact that it's covered in very expensive diamonds. Functions the same way as a regular Pokeball does, but each diamond on it costs at least 10,000 Pokemon dollars, and there are at least 60 diamonds on this bad boy. So you do the math. After that, do the math for this stone Pokeball that has been resting at the peak of this mountain for a very, very, very long time. This Pokeball was first made to house the Pokemon Clay Doll when it was first created 20,000 years ago. It's really mind-blowing if you think about it. This device made of stone was able to contain a Pokemon. I wonder how that worked exactly. Magic? Science? I think it was magic and a very teeny bit of science, because it wasn't until 19,700 years later that the modern Pokeballs would be made. And they look like this at first. These are the first modern Pokeballs that make use of light energy. And the thing that is really crazy about this is the fact that the design remained the same as it was 20,000 years ago. It was also the same design as the Pokelantis Pokeball. But what you didn't know is that this particular Pokeball wasn't meant for Pokemon, but for humans. In the 33rd episode of Battle Frontier, a relic that looks very similar to a modern Pokeball was discovered in the tomb of the King of Pokelantis. At first, it was believed to contain a Ho-Oh that was sealed by the King of Pokelantis. Later on, it was revealed that it contained the spirit of the king. I bet not even Ash could have guessed that a Pokeball can be used to contain a ghost. If not, he wouldn't have gotten possessed by it. If you think a Pokeball being able to contain a human is disturbing, wait till you hear about the secret behind Mewtwo balls. There's a theory that suggests that Mewtwo balls might be crafted from the remains of the scientists that Mewtwo unalived. This speculation stems from a scene in which Ash encounters a machine used for creating Pokeballs, with its arms visibly resembling human bones. Following this speculation, the eyeballs on Mewtwo balls could potentially be real human eyeballs. That's creepy. Why didn't Mewtwo just make his Pokeball like they do in the Johto region? That's right, the invention of Pokeballs occurred in the Johto region, where apricorns grow. These fruits were cut apart and carved out, fitted with a special device, and used to catch wild Pokemon. I bet you didn't know that. Neither did you know that the Hisui also does something similar. When Hisui was first being settled, Pokeballs were made in a similar manner as they are in Johto, also using apricorn fruit harvested from the Hisui's own land. Unlike the fruit in Johto, these apricorns are brown in color. The Hisuian Pokeballs were crafted from a combination of brown apricorns, tumblestone, and wood. And the way this Pokeball is built is so different from the regular Pokeball. It has an iron-like hatch around it. But did you know that it isn't even close to the strangest looking Pokeball? Matter of fact, some trainers who lived hundreds of years ago didn't even need Pokeballs to catch Pokemon. Take, for instance, Sir Aaron in Lucario and the Mystery of Mew didn't need any Pokeball. He used the round crystal in his staff to contain his apprentice Lucario. And this crystal may have been what inspired the modern Pokeball, especially the Crystal Ball. The Crystal Ball could be considered the most powerful Pokeball ever created, but its effectiveness is only plausible if it actually exists. Essentially, these Pokeballs have the ability to summon any Pokemon envisioned by the wielder with the mysterious power of the unknown, just like Molly did. But while Sir Aaron used a crystal, some trainers before him used even weirder things. You see, while Dr. Eve was exploring the ruins of Pokemopolis in the 72nd episode, The Ancient Puzzle of Pokemopolis, she discovered a number of really old artifacts. Not just any artifact, but artifacts that performed the same function as Pokeballs. These relics contained ancient, giant Pokemon. One was the unearthly urn and unearthly spoon that contained a giant Alakazam. Then there was the dark device that contained a giant Gengar and a giant bell that contained a giant Jigglypuff. And that's not all about ancient, weird-looking Pokeballs, because we have another mysterious artifact, the Odd Keystone. As it turns out, in the 56th episode of the Diamond and Pearl series, this old woman reveals that an ancient spiritomb was defeated and imprisoned within the Odd Keystone by an Aura Guardian over 500 years ago. Well, just like relics can catch Pokemon, did you know that Pokeballs can catch relics like rice balls? In the 25th episode of the anime, Ash accidentally catches a rice ball when he throws a Pokeball in an attempt to catch a wild Mankey. I'm sure by now you must be itching for more Pokeball secrets. Well, I've got 10 more for you. Do you remember when I disclosed the secret of the apricorns being used to make Pokeballs in Johto? I found another secret ball that fits the description in the movie Celebi, Voice of the Forest. In the movie, a boy named Sam gets transported 40 years into the future where he meets Ash Ketchum. Despite Pokeballs having been around since the 1920s, Sam has a homemade version that seems to be similar to the method used to turn apricorns into Pokeballs. His steampunky version has a twist top that needs to be rotated in order to release the Pokemon. Did you know that some Pokeballs have really creative designs? Yeah, and for this instance, we have the Feather Ball that has a wing-like image on it. But if you look closer, you'll see that it resembles the letter F. And just like the Feather Ball, there is the Wing Ball that has a unique symbol. This symbol looks like the fleur-de-lis, a symbol that is associated with France and symbolizes the lily flower. That's how I used to wonder why, whenever I examined the top of an Ultra Ball, I'd observe that the arrangement of the letters formed an H. Then I later found out that it's because in Japanese, the Ultra Ball is referred to as the Hyper Ball. Get it? H for hyper? And the Ultra Ball is like an evil twin to the Beast Ball because their names are quite similar. You see, the Beast Ball is used to catch a wild Pokemon, being more likely to succeed against Ultra Beast. See what I mean? Did you know that the Japanese name of Beast Ball was secretly changed due to the localization conflict with Ultra Ball? So Ultra and Ultra Ball just means that it's an Ultra Ball, while the Ultra and Beast Ball now refers to Ultra Beast. Crazy, isn't it? But do you want to know an even crazier secret? Well, this one is kind of an open secret, and it comes from the Electric Tale of Pikachu manga series. In the chapter Haunting My Dreams, a massive Pokeball called the Enormo Pokeball X1 is created in an attempt to contain the Black Fog. This Black Fog is a very huge haunter that rains all sorts of chaos down on the Saffron City and generally looks like a living nightmare. The Pokeball works temporarily until the Pokemon uses the move Explosion to free itself and destroy the ball. Who knew some Pokemon can use moves within a ball to escape? I guess there's just so much about Pokeballs that you don't know. Did you know that a regular Pokeball costs less than $2 in the anime? See, a Pokeball is 200 Pokemon dollars, which is based on the real-life currency yen, so converting that to dollars would give us around $1.90. Did you also know that there are over 100 types of Pokeballs in the anime, manga, and games combined? And for the final secret, riddle me this. How do some Pokemon imitate the classic design of the Pokemon if the modern Pokemon was made 300 years ago? Hear me out. Given how quickly Pokemon can change and evolve, it's possible that creatures like Electrode and Voltorb are merely mimicking the version of the balls that we've seen in the past 300 years. Foongus and Amoongus continue this trend, but it just makes me wonder what all these Pokemon looked like before Pokeballs were around for them to imitate. Or maybe the company that made Pokeballs saw these Pokemon and thought to themselves, hey, what if we made a Pokeball that looked like that? And after we bake that Pokeball, how about we check out this PokeVille's video?